Good afternoon, everyone. It has been one eventful morning, a little too eventful. This morning I went out and I just turned everybody loose. I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't stand them not being loose anymore, and I just couldn't. And of course, we had one of the first huge thunderstorms of this season already. And of course, they were out in it, and some of them got super wet and cold. Um, but one of them got into a bin of ground up alfalfa pellets that I had been working with water and letting it become this really bubbly kind of stuff, and she got in it. So I had to get her out of it. And I went up and I gave her a sudsy bath, but I don't think I did well enough for her, so I'm going to have to go up and check her again. And what I might have to do is wrap her up and take her up to the brooder barn, turn her on a heater, and try to get her to warm up a little bit. So I might have to do that. Um, if she lasts till Saturday, because Saturday is when I'm going to sell her, but I didn't want her to suffer because that stuff looks horrible. I'm going to tell you right now, my feet are muddy. Remember when you were a kid and you used to run around barefoot? Well, that's what my feet and legs and ankles look like right now because I've been tromping through the mud and the dust and the dirt. And I it's bad. I'm looking at my feet. It's bad. Um, Fence guy. He and I walked the fence line. He brought his little boy. I mean, his little boy is probably like right at 4. Maybe I don't know. He was a cute little turd. He wanted to pet the chickens. He wanted to pet the goats. He wanted to pet the dogs. I mean, he was into it. And he has his own little Nigerian goats, and he's got his own 3-year-old Great Pyrenees. He said he has a duck that will come right up to him and let him just pet him. Dad said that it would bite other people, but not him. So cute. That's what my childhood was. Um, we walked the fence line. We looked at everything, and I think this guy is going to work with me really well. He has the wildlife certificate, and he kind of does wildlife sanctuary stuff, which is something that I would definitely love to get into on this property. And so, that's another good connection to make. Something he said to me though that it wasn't bad by any means. If I told someone they reminded me of my mom, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But that's what he said. He says, "You remind me of my mom. She was a homesteader." And I was like, "Oh, how cool, right?" And I came back in, and my husband was sitting there. I said, "Do you know what he said to me?" He says, "I remind him of his mom." And he just said, "You're old." He says, "You've got a 34-year-old." He says, "You're old." And I sat there for a minute. I was like, "You're right. I am. I'm 54 years old." I felt it last night when I unloaded the hay. When I was stacking the hay, trying to sleep last night in pain, and then this morning when I got up, I know how old I am. So I want to say a couple of things. People like to judge people on behaviors, actions, words with really harsh intent. And my thing is you have absolutely no idea what that person has been through in their life. You have absolutely no idea where that person is coming from and why they're doing that behavior or why they do something that you don't agree with. It's not your business. It's not your business to judge others. And I mean that with my absolute most vicious. words. When someone has lived on the streets and they've had nothing, and they have gone through unbelievable trials and tribulations over obstacles that you've never even seen before, there might be a reason why they do that behavior or say what they say or do what they do. And you have absolutely no idea why. That's why when you judge someone, you need to know exactly what makes that person tick before you can properly judge them on the behaviors that they do. I am so frustrated um, with people who are so judgy. I can't, I don't understand it. I have a platform and I'm not judgy. I don't understand how people would want to vote for Trump. I don't understand how they can do that. Because my view is different. I'm not judging someone because they're doing it. I'm just saying I just don't know how you can do it. I just don't. But when it comes to certain behaviors that people are judged on, maybe they're still in survival mode. When you've lived on the streets of Cincinnati and you've had nothing, and you've done everything in the world to survive, but you didn't sell yourself, you didn't do drugs, you didn't drink, you didn't do any of those things that you see on the streets, but you saw someone find a place to stay, get a job, and work their way back to the graces of their family, then maybe you will understand why that person does something the way they do it. That's really all. I just, unless you understand where someone's coming from, you should not be judging them. You don't know why they do what they do. You only know the action. And to judge that action without knowing fully why, yeah, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. I'm 54 years old. What people do is what people do. Okay? There might be a reason why someone does a specific thing. Maybe it was because it was part of their survival mode. Maybe it was how they survived on the streets. Being street smart is a heck of a lot different than homesteading or having a job or, you know, whatever. Being street smart means that you know how to survive. I can survive in the woods, I can survive in the streets, and I can survive this. Y'all have a great day. Hugs from a distance.